welcome to Beer 101 on American Beer TV. Today we are going to drink Downtown Brown from Lost Coast Brewing Company. Just like to give you a little backstory of an American brown ale. Obviously, brown ale started in England in the late 17th century, and I think the idea behind a brown ale was that the porters were a little too heavy, too much of the roasted malts and chocolatey flavors, and the pales or the bitters were a little too far on the bitter side. So they were using brewing a beer that was 100% brown malt and a real low hop profile, and typically a low level of alcohol. They were typically about 3%, and they were considered mild ales or a mild brown. And in the north, they were a little more full-bodied, and but typically all over England, I think still to this day, you can still get a mild brown ale, and they're like very sessionable, typically served through a beer engine on cask, and very drinkable, very smooth, mild beers. And then they started to change a little bit as years progressed. They started to use pale malt as a base malt, and became a little more full-bodied. And then the American homebrewers really got a hold of the style, and they were making their own style of brown ale and entering them into competitions, and they were getting rejected by the BJCP because they weren't to style. They weren't the typical English style brown ale. So Americans kind of took it upon themselves to make an American brown ale, which I got Downtown Brown to me is a perfect example of an American brown ale. The beer's been around for a long time. It's stood the test of time. It's I've had this beer tons of times. I like for a brown ale. I really like it. I typically don't drink too many brown ales, but this is a great entry-level beer, and I think this is a great beer for Beer 101 because it'll give you a chance to kind of step over the line into craft beer and to try something kind of a little different. Not, you know, you get out of the pale lager or the wheat beers and things like that are just really super, you know, plain vanilla. Get out of the vanilla. So these beers, American brewers started using pale malt as the base malt, and this has a really nice brown color and a little hint of red, not too much. It's pretty straightforward brown. Nice malty aroma. One thing about the English brewers, there would typically be, because of their yeast strains, they would have a low level of diacetyl, which is kind of a dry, a little bit of an off flavor. American browns will not have any diacetyl at all. They'll be very clean, and the yeast profile will be pretty non-existent. They won't really have any yeast profile at all. Just very smooth. You get a little tiny bit of a hop aroma that will come through, but it's really low level. You really get that malt sweetness, and I would say they're probably using. I'm sure they could be using brown malt and then maybe like a chocolate malt to give it that brown color, and then so a little higher of a roast level. So let's get into the taste and go from there. Yep, just as I remember it. So, very malty, real low level of hop, much more hops than they would in an English style beer, but again, for an American style, West Coast style beer, very low level hop, very malty, very clean flavors, very drinkable, sessionable, 5% alcohol. You cannot go wrong with this beer. Especially if you're just getting into craft beers, I think this is a good entry-level beer. It was for me. I've been drinking this beer for years. I really like Downtown Brown when I first really started getting into craft beer. It's great. Just like old times. Well, that's our session of Beer 101. Hope you enjoyed it. Get out there and drink some craft beer. Cheers.